Hello, everyone, and welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to professionals that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Joshua Kornitsky with EOS Worldwide. How you doing today, Joshua?
I'm doing great today, Roderick.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. Thank you so much for coming on today. We understand that time is one of our most valuable resources, so we're going to go ahead and jump into things. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sure. So I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. My parents and my grandparents owned new car dealerships in the Northeast. And unfortunately, that's an industry that's pretty cutthroat. And my parents' dealership didn't survive. We ended up in South Florida, where they bought an ice cream store that proved to me that you can be in the right place and have the right product, and without a plan, you still can't survive.
I understand.
That melted away as well. And ultimately, my father returned to what he knew, which was the automotive business. I went with him.
Okay.
So I was sort of born into the car business, doing fleet and leasing from the day that I stepped out into the world. I had to grow a beard because nobody would write me a check. I just never shaved it.
Gotcha.
But I started working with small businesses really before I turned 20.
Okay.
So it got me accustomed to the needs of businesses, and it got me kind of in tune with them. In my own journey, I went from fleet and leasing into retail sales management, running a team of about 20 salespeople for a period of time in the car business. But I had always had skills and abilities that lent towards technology, specifically IT, and that was at a time where those skills were few and far between.
Okay.
So I ended up moving from strictly sales and management into IT management, and I was around at the time that the public auto consolidators started buying up the mom and pop dealerships.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up working for a public company here in Atlanta that owned 8 dealerships throughout the Southeast, and I ended up as their IT director.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, I built 4 dealerships here in town and ran the IT for 8 throughout the Southeast, and I stayed with them until, the early 2000s. They consolidated once again because it's what they do, and I ended up as an IT consultant for a great firm in Sandy Springs called Decision Digital.
Okay.
Where I spent almost 10 years, again, working with small businesses, getting to know and understand what their needs were and helping them solve their technical problems. Again, that was still pretty early on in the technology space, so It was a lot of solving of problems that people didn't have solutions for. You couldn't just Google it.
Yes, it seems like you were on the early innovator side of that with the IT services. But before we go to the next step, you were in car world.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite car? What's your ideal car?
So here I have to go back to my mentor and my father and say whichever one you need.
Okay.
I was born without that gene.
Okay.
I love the concept of automobiles. The Savoy is my favorite place up in Cartersville, the Automotive Museum.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a member there. I'm a member of the Booth Western Museum. I absolutely love automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
I have no favorites because I had 21 different cars before I was 21 years old.
Okay.
And that's not because we were fabulously wealthy.
Yeah.
It's because every time a piece of crap broke down, my father just grabbed the keys to something else and gave them to me. So that's not so much a brag as it was a trying out the used lot.
I got you.
But no, I'm
favorite?
partial now to, we've got a Jeep Wrangler.
Okay.
It's our 5th one. And other than the fact that it's a little sick right now, I love it dearly. But if you want to buy it, it's for sale.
I got you. I just wanted to check.
Sure.
Yeah, check. You got ducks in your Jeep?
I have been ducked before.
Okay.
Currently, I am ductless because the Jeep hasn't been out much.
I got you. So you were in the automotive industry. You moved into more of an IT role. You said you were at a company for about 10 years.
Doing sales and consulting to help businesses kind of shore up and strengthen their networks. And it was in about 2015 that a company my wife had worked for in Alpharetta started looking for a chief technology officer. They had a need to build a piece of software, and they wanted somebody they trusted. My wife is a former college athlete and a very high performer, so every year she had been with the company, she had made their president's club. I had the opportunity to get to know the owner socially over time because I would accompany her on all of the trips.
Yes.
And they offered me the role, so I became a software developer and
Okay.
a chief technology officer.
Okay.
And really, it was working for that company in Alpharetta where we had hit a ceiling in growth. We weren't getting any bigger. We weren't experiencing any more success no matter what we tried. And our CEO went out at the time and he found an EOS implementer. EOS is the entrepreneurial operating system.
Okay. Okay.
And once we went through the process, and I equate the process of going through EOS implementation very much to the best analogy would be a diet. If your doctor tells you you need to be on a diet, if your spouse tells you you need to be on a diet, none of that matters till you go to put your pants on and they don't fit, and then you realize, oh crap, I need to be on a diet.
Right. Right.
Once you realize you've got to be on that diet, once you go all in, is the only way that it really works, pretty much like anything else in life.
Yes.
Our organization went all in and we spiked. We grew by 20%.
Okay.
And it afforded me personally so much success that one of the founders of that company and I co-founded a software company to do simulation training. I designed and built the software for that organization over about 4 years, helped build and grow the organization. But in 2022, I sold my stake in the company. I had lost my dad, who, as I said, was my mentor and my best friend, and I'd lost my mother-in-law, who we had cared for in her home for a number of years. And my wife and I decided I just needed to take a different path.
Yes.
So it was at that point when I sold my ownership in the software company that I was talking with friends and advisors, and a dear friend of mine who'd been part of the organization that went through EOS implementation suggested to me that it might be the right path for me. So I spoke with EOS Worldwide. I investigated the organization. I remember and knew, because I had been part of a leadership team for 5 years running on it. I'd owned a company that ran on it for 4 years. I knew how impactful it was and how much of a difference it could make. So I went all in. I'm a franchisee. I signed a franchise agreement.
Okay.
And for the last just over 2 years now, I've worked with small organizations to help them grow and scale and become more healthy.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
what we do when we work with organizations is really three things. We get them aligned around vision, getting everybody on the same page, working to row in the same direction. We teach them the concept of traction, which is the name of the book that EOS is based on by Gino Wickman. And traction really implies simply discipline and accountability to exercise on those things that they are now focused on. And then finally, we teach their leadership teams how to be healthy, because oftentimes in an entrepreneurial organization, those organizations have leaders that may have individual great skill, but who have not learned how to work well together. So working to make that team both healthy and smart makes the organization healthy. Everybody has more fun, ultimately makes more money.
Yes. Yes.
That's EOS in a nutshell.
That's what you do.
And what I've discovered is that when I find an organization that is ready to move forward, it's hand in glove, and people just get that they are ready to move to the next level.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, you've given us a good framework of what it is that you do. Tell us what a great client looks like for you to jump on that particular plan that you have.
A great client is open and honest and willing, truthfully, to understand that change is more important than the status quo. As far as size-wise, we work with organizations of all sizes, but ideally between 10 and 250 employees. That's a rule of thumb more than an exact guideline, because every organization is different.
Yes.
The best litmus test is, first and foremost, that if they understand that they want to get to the next level and they have tried everything they can and they can't, that's when we can be the most effective, is when they're in the headspace that they are ready to get to that next place.
Okay. It's EOS Worldwide. So do you have geographical bounds for yourself, or how does it look for you, client-wise?
Thank you for asking. I can travel anywhere in the world that my clients want me. I primarily target the southeastern U.S. because I grew up in South Florida and I have family down there. I'm always happy to go down that way.
Yes.
I live in Kennesaw, so as much as I can stay in Georgia, I certainly am happy to. But at the end of the day, I have clients that are spread across the country. We do everything over Zoom, so it really doesn't matter. Excuse me.
Very good. Now, as far as with, the ideal client, you've given us a great framework of what that looks like, 10 to 250 employees. They can be anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, because it is worldwide.
It is.
We also want to talk a little bit about those businesses or those industries that send you over business. And what I mean is our business is credit card processing. So great referral partners for us are CPAs, bookkeepers, because they have the attention of the decision maker. Who would you say is a good referral partner to send you over opportunities?
Great question without an easy answer.
Okay.
The best answer that would jump out to my mind is, historically, I've done a lot of work in the trades, in plumbing and electrical, but I also have done work with software companies and with training organizations. So the nice thing about what EOS does and what I get to do for a living, right, and it is that we are kind of vertical independent. So EOS and Traction specifically teaches a couple of core principles, if I may. What it really stems from is Gino Wickman made this discovery that of all the millions of issues an organization deals with on a daily basis, most of them are going to fall into one of 6 key categories. Vision, which is getting people aligned around the founder's vision of the organization. People, which comes from Jim Collins, getting the right people into the right seats, which in the parlance of EOS, we define that as the right people align with the core values of the organization, and the right seats means that they align with the items that we've asked them to be accountable for. We use an accountability chart rather than an organizational chart, so it really helps understand what the expectation is for the individual in the role.
Makes sense.
From there, we move over to data, and we use leading indicators to track data on a weekly basis, because if you only took a patient's pulse at the end of the day, I have bad news for your patient. And ultimately, everybody in the organization ends up with a couple of different measurables that are designed to help the organization know that it's on track to meet its goals. From there, when you've got clarity of vision and you've got the right people in the right seats and you're using real hard data, your issues kind of become self-evident. So rather than just acknowledging that the issues have bubbled up, we teach organizations how to identify, discuss, and solve those issues so that they go away forever. Then we move over and we talk about process, and process is just simply about getting the right things documented and done the same way every time. That's the magic that leads to scalability. And then finally, the 6 key component, and again, to circle back on the wheel, this is where each issue in the organization that it's dealing with falls into one of these categories, is traction. It's discipline and accountability to execute on the things that are being asked of the organization or of the individuals. So if you think about the problems that any business has, once you understand which one of those key components its root cause is in, there are tools and techniques and resources that are available to help solve those. And when it comes to actually answering your question about the greatest referral resource, the greatest referral resource for any EOS implementer, and there's 850 of us around the world. There's about almost 20 of us here in Georgia, and we've all had the same training. All of us understand the same 6 key components and the tools and the resources to deal with them. But we are all independent. We all function on our own, but we're an amazingly collaborative team. Someone who has been within an EOS organization understands the value because they see what a difference it makes. It is not a wholesale change of anything. It's gradual change that affects discipline and accountability, and it starts at the leadership team. And at the leadership team level, they have to own it in order for it to trickle down to the rest of the company. It
makes a lot of sense for it to come top down. I think that based off of your description, the biggest key is having the full buy-in.
100%.
I think that's, based off of what you shared so far. So when we're talking about who's going to be a good referral for Joshua, think about those businesses that truly are ready to accept change and change some of their processes. Because number 5 on your list, when you talked about processes and being able to replicate that over and over again, you're doing the same thing over and over again, having discipline and executing. I think that's a great thing. So if you guys know of businesses that are looking to change and want to grow, let him know, because he said there was a big spike when he did it when he was just,
Absolutely.
another company.
And so if I can contextualize that just for a minute, this is an example that comes from the EOS book process, but it's about Isidore Sharp, the founder of the Four Seasons.
Okay.
And to make it more digestible than the long story, the story that Isidore Sharp always told was that you systemize the predictables so that you can humanize the exceptional.
Okay.
And in humanizing the exceptional, to give that body is, if you imagine the lobby of a hotel, anybody that works in the lobby of the hotel understands that to open the doors every day, there may be 5 responsibilities. Turn on the lights, put out the flowers, put out the newspaper, fill the register with cash, and of course get the credit card machine ready to process for the day.
Please.
But anybody that works in the lobby, those are the things that have to happen. Those are the core processes for working in the lobby. So if I work in the lobby as a bellman and you work at the front desk, anybody is capable of accomplishing those 5 key things. Once we know that those are done, that gives you the chance at the counter to pay more attention to the customer. That gives me the chance, taking the luggage up, to be much more personable and help understand what the client's other needs are outside of the requirements.
Yes.
So that's the humanizing of the exceptional. That's letting your employees' kind of inner abilities shine when working with your clients.
Yes.
And you can't train that.
Yes, that is true. It seems like an excellent environment that is created through your process and through your system. We definitely appreciate you sharing, your journey about how you were in the automotive industry, moved over to software development, and now you're implementing this excellent strategy. Over that time, I am confident that you have acquired and nurtured different skills. Do you mind talking with the audience today about 1 or 2 of those skills that you have acquired that they could possibly use in their repertoire for their business?
I'd be happy to. I pause only because I never stop learning.
Okay.
And to say that I've mastered anything would be far from the truth. I would say that probably one of the most important things that I've learned, because I've led teams of 2025, I've led teams of developers. We had 18 developers at one time. Is the value and the importance of listening. We have a tendency in leadership to talk too much. And I think it was the Dalai Lama that said you can't learn anything while you're talking.
Okay.
If you have meetings with your employees, the downstream folks that are part of your organization, however often the cadence is, you should be listening far more than you should be talking. Otherwise, you're missing the point of those discussions.
Yes.
Because it's not just the handing out of orders. The folks on the front line of any business are the folks that hear, see, and know what makes that business tick.
Yes.
So it's critical that you get their input and their feedback. There are larger decisions that have to be considered, but they should always be informed decisions.
Okay.
So that would be the single most important thing. And beyond that, really, I would say that the concept of aligning people to core values would be the second most important thing. And yes, it's derived from EOS, but over my 8 years deeply ingrained with it and then 2 years teaching it, I've come to understand it sort of on a different level. If the folks that you surround yourself with understand what's important to you, and we often joke about this in our community, core values shouldn't be on a poster or a mouse pad. If the leadership team can't spout them out, then the leadership team doesn't understand them.
Okay.
Those core values are what define the organization. And if you think about any organization where and I'll pick on sales because it's the easiest. Have you ever been at an organization that had a fantastic salesperson, but let's say they were perhaps morally on a different page?
Yes.
Might be a super performer, right?
Yes.
But at the end of the day, if you really look at the cost, are they worth the expense in order to maintain the damage they do to the brand, the damage they do to the reputation? it's never worth it.
I got it. I get
So
it.
that's the other piece that I would say was the most incredible piece that has settled into my consciousness, and saying that growing up in the car business,
Yes.
in defense of the automotive industry, my father was selling cars to the grandchildren of people that he sold them to originally because he took good care of them and they got fair pricing.
Right.
Not everybody is a shark in that
Yes,
business.
yes. That makes a lot of sense. It looks like he took on that principle as well as 2 ears and 1 mouth and listened instead of forcing a product down just because it was a high margin on that. He actually listened of what the needs were and then implemented it from there. So to the audience today, just listen to Joshua. Like he said, you got to listen to your employees. You got to listen to your clients so you can provide the best service or product for them instead of forcing something down. So we definitely appreciate you sharing that skill. I think it's going to be good for the audience members to listen to it. Now, one thing that we always like to do is talk about the business, but we also like to talk about Joshua and himself.
Sure.
So let's just say that you have taught all of the businesses the EOS system, and they're just chugging along, everything's come along good, and you can take a step away from the business. What is it that Joshua would do with his time?
I would take my wife and my 2 daughters, and we would travel the world.
Okay.
It is there is so much to see, and the time slips away so quickly.
Yes, yes. Do you have a particular destination in mind that you want to hit?
All of them.
Okay. Okay.
All of them.
Okay. Well, good. Well, good. Well, listen, watch out, world. He's going to be out there because he's going to all the places. Joshua, how can the people get in contact with you?
So the easiest way to reach me would be through my website, and because my name and my website are both long, the easiest thing that I've done is I've just taken my cell phone number and turned it into a URL that redirects to my website. My number is 678-414-7696. You can just put a .com after that, and it'll redirect you to my website where I can easily be reached. Or you can just dial that number, and you'll get me.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. He got the easy way to get in contact with him. Now, when we have guests on the show, we are definitely appreciative, and we always like to honor them by giving you the last word. So why don't you take a look into your camera over there and tell the people something good.
So I thought about this as our discussion went on, and I want to share a very brief story from Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy's book, The Gap and the Gain. And Dan Sullivan is someone who helped contribute to EOS, but he owns a company called Strategic Coach that is beneficial to entrepreneurs the world over. And the book, The Gap and the Gain, is probably the best book I've read in the last 5 years. Long story made short. In 2000, the British rowing team had not won a gold medal since about 1904, I think, and they decided that things were going to be different this time in Sydney. So the team got together and they collectively made the decision that anytime an opportunity was presented to any member of the team or the team as a whole, they would ask one question. And the question was, will it make the boat go faster? And that's the piece that has stuck with me. The long and the short is, the answer is if you want a donut, will it make the boat go faster? No, then not right now. Are we going to the bar tonight, meet some people? Will it make the boat go faster? No. And you can look it up. In 2000, the 8-men rowing team for Great Britain won the gold medal because they only did the things that made the boat go faster. And will the boat go faster? Will the boat go faster? Will the boat go faster? Is really the question that's just bounced around in my head since I read it, and it really helps streamline and make simple your decision-making process when you're evaluating whether or not individually or as a business you should make this decision one way or another. Ask yourself, will it make the boat go faster?
Excellent. Thank you so much for that insight. We appreciate you coming on today. We're very appreciative of you sharing your story, your journey, and some of those insights of things that you've learned over the past. Thank you to everybody for watching the show today. We want you to be kind, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.